Hi, Rodrigo. Welcome here, P Magazine booth here at Intersolar.
Hello, Emiliano. It's a pleasure to be here with you. Congratulations for the booth. And let's talk about Brazil.
Rodrigo, Brazil is now one of the biggest solar markets in the world.
That's true. Last year, Brazil was the fourth largest PV market in the world in terms of added capacity. And we also reached the position of 10th largest market in the world in terms of total installed capacity. So Brazil is really moving forward and shining as a significant market for the solar sector. And that's why we are here also sharing more data about Brazil, for example, on the global market outlook.
And the large-scale segment is performing particularly well at this moment.
Well, this year we are actually saying it's going to be the year of large-scale solar projects, although the total installed capacity that ABSolar is projecting for 2023 is a little bit lower for large-scale than for distributed generation, meaning distributed generation will still be leading the market. It's almost twice as much as we had last year for large-scale projects. So we're expecting 4.6 gigawatts of added capacity in 2023 for large-scale projects in Brazil, and 5.5 gigawatts of distributed solar, summing up to more than 10 gigawatts of added capacity in 2023. And we hope that will make Brazil, once again, one of the leading solar markets in the world.
I think this capacity is mostly from PPAs, right?
In the case of large-scale capacities, the majority of it will come from PPAs. Part of these are PPAs from the regulated market that are structured in auctions from the federal government, but the majority of them are now going to the free market. These are basically bilateral PPAs between large consumers, such as industries and large supermarkets or other commercial players, and generators with the support of a commercializing agent. So this is the trend for large-scale projects in Brazil, who are usually above 50 megawatts, some of them hundreds of megawatts, 500, 700 of megawatts per project. So these are big projects happening in Brazil now.
Do auctions still make sense to support large-scale PV? Do you think they're still necessary to push the segment forward?
Well, it's important for us as a sector to keep defending a strong presence and protagonism of solar PV on regulated auctions that are done by the federal government. But the truth is, because of the lower economic growth in Brazil currently, macroeconomic growth, the room for demand has decreased. And because of that, new auctions should have a smaller proportion on the total share of electricity. This means that they won't be the leading source for large-scale projects in terms of opportunities, but they will still be relevant because usually these projects are contracted 5 or 6 years in advance. So we do have a growing energy market in Brazil and a growing demand. Our country is a developing country, the economy is growing, the GDP per capita is growing, and energy consumption per capita is also growing. So this will create opportunities, but the majority of them should be on what we call the free market bilateral PPAs.
And do you think auction may still be useful to set benchmarks for prices eventually, or these prices may not be representative of the real price of large-scale PV in Brazil?
Well, what we see is that regulated auctions, they usually have a lower average price than the free market auctions because they guarantee the connection, the access to the connection, which is something critical and with a growing importance in Brazil. Because of that, prices are normally lower than what you see in the free market. So they don't represent a good reference for average selling prices in general, not only for solar, but other renewable energy technologies. It's important to say that solar PV on the last 7 regulated auctions that were done by the government on renewable energy, solar was the cheapest electricity source in 6 of them, the most competitive in 6 of them. So solar is a strong leader now in terms of lower prices and more competitiveness to the end consumers, and that's why it's also wanted more and more on bilateral PPAs as well. That should be a better reference for market prices.
Coming to the distributed generation segment, which you cited before, it's performing still very well, but we may see some market contraction, at least in the first half of this year. this is mostly related to macroeconomic factors, or is it the other factors impacting on the sector right now?
Well, we have a combination of factors, Emiliano. On the one hand, we have the macroeconomic factors. We also had the political factor because there was a change in government from the beginning of this year. So on the side of the macroeconomic factors, we have inflation increase in Brazil, and this presses access to financing, competitive financing. So this reduces the potential of consumers to adopt the technology and therefore the market in general. A second aspect has to do with real to dollar ratio. So there was also, because of the political change, there was first an increase on the dollar price and a reduction on the value of the real. And this exchange ratio also impacts solar because many of the products and components are coming from abroad, so they have dollar-based price. Nevertheless, we see that the price of electricity in Brazil is still rising significantly. And because of that, we believe that there is an opportunity here for us to find new clients, new consumers that want to reduce their electricity bill using solar PV. We have to remember that the average payback time for a solar system in Brazil is roughly 5 years. That's excellent payback time. And that's because of the excellent solar resource and high electricity costs we have in the country. On the political side, the new government from President Lula is in office. And this new government, as it's coming now in office, it's normal that investors and consumers are a little bit more conservative in terms of investing in new projects and new technologies. So that had made the market also slow a little bit in the beginning of the year. Nevertheless, this government is showing a strong narrative towards renewable energy, energy transition, climate change, positioning of the Brazilian government, and sustainability in general. So we believe that this can help, and we have been discussing with many ministries how to put solar forward as a solution that also generates jobs and investments to the country. So as a big opportunity for the development of the economy and of the environment.
So I think maybe we'll see a rebound in the second half of the year, as usual, in Brazil for the distributed generation segment. How much do you expect will be installed overall in Brazil this year for PV?
Well, in distributed generation, we are expecting 5.5 gigawatts to be installed. And summing up with large-scale projects, 4.6, we have more than 10 gigawatts, 10.1 gigawatts. Good news is, since the beginning of the year, we started the year with 24 gigawatts, and now we already have 30. We just celebrated the 30 gigawatts landmark. So this new milestone shows that we are actually moving a little bit faster than the projections. And usually the second semester in Brazil is stronger than the first semester in terms of total market heat and temperature. So we believe that we're coming for better numbers than we expected until the end of the year. Let's see how it develops.
We'll see another record year in Brazil this year, maybe. Thank you very much for being here with us, Rodrigo.
Pleasure. Thank you for the opportunity, to you, Emiliano, and PV Magazine, and count on our support as always.